Hi there. Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We've got another escapade on our hands, episode 5 at Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy, which is just, the attic upstairs, but let's see what we got going on. Ha. The 5th of March, 2:40 p.m. at Naruhodo's Legal Consultancy. Oh god, it's music again. It's getting a little old. Hello. I'm back. Oh, hello, Mr. Naruhodo. Did you have a good outing? Hi, Bruno. What's the matter? Your eyes are as big as dinner plates. Iris, I wasn't expecting to see you here. I've just made some tea, Mr. Naruhodo. Would you like a cup? Ha! A cup or two. Yes. Definitely. Oh. Is everything okay, Ryunosuke? You seem a little out of sorts. Damn, hopefully Iris isn't gonna, bonk you on the head for that pun. Alright, Runo. What's going on? You're acting extremely strangely. Yeah, it's a little bit out there. What? Me? No, not at all. I'm as normal as normal can be. Normality itself. Ha 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 ha. Man, Ryunosuke, you're not normally the wordplay type, so I'm curious what's going on there. Not again, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry. Not what again? What do you mean, Susie? Whenever he goes out on his own lately, he always seems to come back with a peculiar new purchase. Peculiar? Peculiar? What's peculiar about the things I bought? You seem to think that anything British is a curio you simply must have. Oh, like you aren't a big fangirl for Herlock Sholmes. Keep buying items of bric-a-brac even though you don't know what they are. Well, there are rather a lot of bric-a-brac shops and pawnbrokeries and the like around here. It's when I've been to Lord Strongheart's to give my weekly report. I'm always so nervous beforehand. On the way home, I just find myself in those shops and... Yes, alright. I can't deny it. I bought something, okay? What about it? You're right. You can't deny it. Because your eyes are wider than ever. You really ought to put up a warning sign about them. They're bigger than some potholes around here. Jesus. That's a little rude. Oh, it's hard to resist things in the bric-a-brac shop. It's all so cheap. Mr. Sholmes has given me lots of useful advice about how to pick out the real bargains. You must remember, Runo, that Hurley likes to have fun with you. Take his advice with a big pinch of salt. Well, that's true. That thing he told me with the pot stand wasn't a pot stand at all. But I'd never have guessed it was a collapsible top hat. Wow, I didn't know that was a thing. No, and I'd never have guessed that you could fill up this once empty room so quickly. Honestly, it's overflowing with things we don't need now. Oh, come on. I mean, look at those scales. Not once have you weighed something on them. Bro, it's symbolic. It's like the scales of justice. Because I'm a lawyer. It's called decoration. It's called fucking, having a sense of style, Susato. Have you considered that? I know, but ever since I first stood at the defense court. I don't know why, but I just really wanted my own little set of scales. Let's see it then, Mr. Naruhodo. What have you come home with today? Oh, well, it's, one of these! what do we got? What is it? It looks all dry and shriveled up in a ball! Oh no. Really, Mr. Naruhodo? What is it? It's a sea anemone! An anemone? Yes. I mean, I know it doesn't look like it at the moment. It's all shriveled up like you said. Aren't sea anemones living creatures? The ones that dance about on the seabed. Yes, exactly! The ones that dance about on the seabed. This one isn't dancing because it's shriveled up and probably dead. Oh. They sell sea anemones in bric-a-brac shops here in Britain. I don't know whether they normally do or not, but I do know that I bought one today. But why, Bruno? Like, literally, why? What possible use could you have for a fucking sea anemone, Bruno? Fucking think, Bruno. Well, yes, for the aquarium, of course. Aquarium. I don't know that word. Well, according to the shopkeeper, keeping sea creatures in tanks was hugely popular here in London before. Oh yes. Some people have beautiful fish in seawater tanks. It's true. Having an aquarium became popular because the old glass tax was abolished. There it is again, rearing its ugly head. The subject of taxation. Oh boy, fucking continuity, I see. It was a real craze for a while. Everyone in London had one. For a while, you say? Yes, it didn't last long. People's enthusiasm soon waned. It's just far too much work to be changing the seawater regularly in a city like London. Yeah, I can imagine. Like, do they even have access to clean water normally in London around this time? I feel like piping and sewage wasn't, fully realized at this point in time. But, I could be wrong. I'm not exactly up to date on my plumbing knowledge of Victorian England. But either way, getting seawater would be a different story entirely. Never a truer word said, I'm sure. You'd think people might have realized that from the start, really, wouldn't you? Anyway, that was long before I was born. So now everyone jokes that there's an unloved aquarium covered in dust in every attic in the capital. I mean, it's true, and it's true. There's one in this attic, too. When I told the man in the bric-a-brac shop about it, he had these words of wisdom. That's why this is the age of the sea anemone. And that made a lot of sense to me. It made sense to you, did it, Minosuke? Are you okay? And are you all right in the head, Mr. Naruhodo? I wonder. But Bruno, this anemone is completely dried up. Well, you just need to soak it in water overnight, and it'll be as good as new. That's what the man said. You know what they are about the man? You know what they say about the man? He kind of bullshit. I'm not sure that it works in the same way as dried wakame seaweed, Mr. Naruhodo. Once I've saved some money, I'm going to buy some prawns to keep this little fellow company. Oh, how exciting! Your office will be teeming with life. Will it really? Britain is a funny country, though. I mean, a sea anemone craze? Well, they say people in glass houses about comments like that here, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't forget that there was a very curious rabbit craze in our own country not so very long ago. Yeah, well, hey, look at that. Once again, a continuity nod to a previous escapade. I guess they aren't all standalone stories. A mortifying chapter that people will try to erase from the history books 100 years from now, I'm sure. You know, there was another craze as well before the aquarium one. Have you heard of Wardian cases? What? Oh no, I've definitely never heard of them. They were little glazed cases for growing plants indoor, I believe. Oh, I see. For plant lovers to raise their favorite tropical plants. That's right! Like different types of ferns. Ferns? You mean those rather dull plants with lots of fronds for leaves? Oh, that's a little harsh. They're not dull at all! Ferns are lovely plants. I think people want to recreate the exotic foliage of the tropics in their own homes. So they grew ferns. I mean, ferns, sea anemones, Londoners certainly have a knack for the obscure. Well, thinking about it, my grandfather loved the moss on his bonsai. He looked after it better than the trees. It seems like the more obscure something is, the more it interests people. Yeah, people do like things that are weird and out and strange and not that well known, and then inevitably becomes well known, and then it falls out of favor, you know? Heh, maybe. Anyway, the Wardian cage craze didn't last very long. Now, most of those little glass cases are just gathering dust, I think. But haven't I seen one in your room, Iris? Ooh, haha, very observant of you, Susie. Yes, that's right. Mine's certainly not gathering dust. I grow tropical herbs in it. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, I really must ask you to stop all this frivolous buying of strange things. Yes, all right. Sorry. It's just that, well, think about Mr. Sholmes' room. He has all sorts of peculiar trinkets lying around. Oh, well, yes, that's true. And they seem to be growing in number. Recently I've noticed a blowpipe, a few beryl crystals set in a twisted piece of gold, a gold-rimmed pince-nez. I spotted a small gramophone record in there the other day, so I slipped it onto the gramophone. But it was just a whispering voice saying, Norbury, and nothing more. What could it possibly be about? Oh, those were all mementos of cases that Hurley solved over the years. Exactly. That's what I want to create in here. Just that sort of atmosphere. Ah, a room full of meaningful trinkets, each with their own unique history, you mean? Yes, yes, that! I knew you'd understand, Mrs. Otto. But, Mr. Naruhodo, none of the things you bought for the room have any connection with any of our cases. Oh, don't they? Well, for example, take that splendid but rather weather-beaten top hat. That wasn't used as evidence in any of the cases we worked on, was it? Oh, haha, well, so you have two top hats if you count the collapsible one as well. No, the collapsible one is a pot stand. As far as I'm concerned, anyway. But the other day, when we were in court, they were everywhere, weren't they? Top hats, I mean. Oh yeah, everyone has a top hat in London, I suppose, around this time. And then you have fucking Lady First and his shitty top hats. That apparently aren't very well fitting. Well, here in Britain, of course, there's a mark of a true gentleman, so that's hardly surprising. If a man isn't wearing a top hat when he ventures out of doors, he'll be looked down upon. Man, isn't that a strange, cultural, what's the word? Artifact. Yeah, cultural artifact. I mean, it used to be accepted to just, if you wanted to go out about town, you had to be wearing a hat. And if you weren't wearing a hat, then you weren't a gentleman. These days, if you wear a hat, well, I'd say there's some hats that are acceptable, but if you went out wearing a top hat these days, people would think you were strange. Fashion sure is strange, isn't it? Gosh, it has very strict rules, doesn't it? The English Gentleman's Code. Oh, I've been wondering how I'd look in a top hat recently. After all, my university uniform is black as well, so I think it would be very in keeping. Yeah, you'd probably look great in a top hat, Ryunosuke. Very stylish indeed. Oh, what a good idea! Go on then, Bruno. Try it on. Okay, geez, you don't gotta look at me like you're gonna add it to a fucking cringe compilation. Come on, guys. Oh! Ha. The lesson here, I suppose, is that the juxtaposition of student and gentleman is just so strange and wrong. Ryunosuke, you're like a freak. Some kind of sin against God. Take it off, man. Take it off. Well, I mean, I'd rather it didn't suit me anyway. I mean, these hats are ridiculous. I'd be willing to bet that every foreigner who sees one of these for the first time thinks exactly the same thing. Why is that man wearing a chimney on his head? People in glass houses. Remember, Bruno? What do you mean? Well, what about Japanese Sean Mage top knots? Those haircuts are the height of ridiculousness. Ugh. True, I suppose. At least you can take a hat off. Once you have a Chon Mage, it's Chon your head for good. Okay, fucking Iris, cut it with the fucking jokes, okay? You shouldn't be just disrespecting Japanese culture like that. I'd be willing to bet every foreigner who sees a Chon Mage for the first time thinks exactly the same thing. Why is that man wearing a cannon on his head? Okay, now I want to see what a Chon Mage, the top knot is supposed to look like. I suppose that's what it means to have different cultures, isn't it? Yeah, for better or worse, I suppose. Oh, okay, so that's like the traditional, like, sumo, or not sumo, or like stereotypical samurai hairstyle, top knot. I guess it does kind of look like a cannon, in a certain way of looking at it. But yeah, you know, different cultures have different practices and different traditions that won't always make sense immediately. On the subject of hats, the one Mr. Sholmes always wears is really very strange, don't you think? I beg your pardon, Mr. Naruhodo. What a thing to say. That hat is the very essence of Mr. Sholmes. Yes, without his deerstalker, the great detective would be unrecognizable. I suppose that's fair. I mean, when you think Sholmes, or when you think detective, you often do think of the deerstalker hat. I'm curious, what kind of hat that was used for traditionally. Like, was it really used for hunting deer? I mean, I guess it would make sense. Like, otherwise, why would you call it a deerstalker if it wasn't used for hunting? But you do traditionally see it as being associated with Sherlock Holmes. It's called a deerstalker? That's a surprisingly swanky name. It's a hat of a hunter, just like the flat cap. I made up my mind long ago to visit Regent Street and buy one for myself. Now, you always want to try on different kind of hats, aren't you, Suzato? I'm not sure it's going to fit over your hair. I'm sure she could make it work. She's very stylish. Well, I think it's perfect for a great detective who stalks his criminal quarry. What do you think is strange about it anyway? Well, you've seen it. It has two brims, one at the front and one at the back. I mean, what's the deal with deerstalker hats? Why do you need two brims on a hat? Surely one at the front is enough, no? I mean, good question. It is kind of like a double-sided hat, if you think about it like that. Huh. One moment, please. If you ask me, it's just Mr. Sholmes' madcap personality coming through. Yeah, madcap is one way to put it. Madcap, am I right? Because he's a silly bastard. And caps are things that you put on your head. Right? I bet it's so that he doesn't have to think about which way round to put it on. Or something like that. Okay, yeah, that is kind of funny. And also, I mean, practical. Like, yeah, you just slide it on your head without having to worry about if it's frontwards or backwards, because either way, it's, you know, the same side. Mr. Sholmes does not have a madcap personality. He always has a clear head. Okay, I think you're maybe hyping up a little too much. Like, say what you will about Sholmes, you know, love him or hate him, but that's a pretty madcap motherfucker, if I'm being honest with you. Deerstalkers were made for hunters who had to hide in thickets when they were stalking their prey. The brim at the back was designed to stop the stalks of plants scratching the back of their necks. Oh, okay, geez, I didn't even have to look that up. Iris just explained it all to me. Oh, so that's the reason. Thank you, Iris, for educating us. Mr. Sholmes doesn't spend a lot of time in thickets, though, does he? Well, no, that's true. I'm telling you, it's just his impetuous personality. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Firmly. My hat theory. Or Herlock theory, I guess you could say. Oh, speaking of the madcap devil himself. Ah, here you all are. Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Sholmes. I've not long since made some tea, Mr. Sholmes. Would you like a cup? I see, I've come at a good time, Mrs. Otto. Thank you. Now, I have something I should like you all to see. I designed myself a brand new Great Detective's hat. What the? There's a brim at the front, and at the back, and at both sides. 4 brims in total. What the? A 4-brimmed hat? What? Your observation is quite correct, my dear madam. I'm a busy man, you see. But with this hat, whichever way I put it on, I shall always have it pointing the correct way. Ha! I guess Ryunosuke was right about his intuition. Oh. With my previous hat, I could, in an impetuous moment, wear it erroneously with the brims on either side. Oh, even he pointed out that he's being impetuous. That's, impressively clumsy, I would say. And I must regretfully say, I think your madcap theory was correct after all. Yeah, exactly, and Ryunosuke knows his shit. But really, Ryunosuke. But really, Mr. Sholmes, with brims on all 4 sides like that, wouldn't it just be better to wear a top hat instead? Oh yeah, that way you wouldn't have... Yeah, because it's all one big brim. Huh. I guess top hats are practical in that way. Oh yes! Then, however you put it on, you'd have a brim all around. What? So true, so true. How could I have been so blinkered to this fact until now? Well, fortunately, I happen to have two top hats here. If you just lift the pot off of it, you're welcome to try that one there. Indeed I shall, my good fellow. Much obliged. Oh. I mean, I wanted to see Herlock wearing a top hat. That'd be funny, I bet. pretty cringe, bro. Pretty cringe. Oh dear! Hurley looks terrible! More terrible than I could have possibly have imagined! Damn, Iris, you cut deep. I thought you were cutting me deep with my top hat. But here you go, roasting Herlock. Oh. That's not good. Maybe it's because of your long face. You know, paired with a tall hat, it just, you know, doesn't work. Well, I think it's very nice, Mr. Sholmes. Even if it will have the, you know, the whole world in fits of laughter. Ah! I should never have meddled with it. Give me a deerstalker forevermore. Give me my Regulation University hat forevermore. There's still hope that you'll graduate one day, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't give up. Yeah, hopefully. Wait, how am I going to graduate? Well, I guess this is a temporary stay, and it's a legal study and all that. But, like, considering I wasn't even going to school for law in the first place, do you think they mind if Ryunosuke just changed majors like that? Because, I mean, this whole deal was kind of, you know, spur of the moment, right? Like, is he going to be able to go back to university one day and graduate? You know? It makes you wonder. But anyway, that was, that escapade. A lot of hat discussion. And also anemone. Anemone. Mamma mia. That's a tricky word to say. Anemone. Is that how you say that? Anemone. 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 Mana fana fo Philly anemone? I don't know, man. It's tricky shit. But anyway, that's one escapade down. Pretty interesting, silly stuff. And also a bit of continuity with past ones. And also, I don't recall that now, but like, I remember when during like the fourth and the fifth case primarily, we were looking at his room and stuff, and he did mention that he was growing prawn in his aquarium. I forget, did they mention the anemone before? Because I feel like they made mention of that. So technically, this escapade, despite being, you know, not exactly consequential, it does establish where Ryunosuke got his interest in aquariums and anemones and shit, apparently. So that's something. Anyway, this next escapade features Suzeki Natsume, to be exact. So that should be entertaining. He's a silly fella. But we will save that for next episode. Until then, though, I will see you around.